One of my favorite subjects is, did you know, subject 7, hoses and clamps. We use hoses and clamps to move all these chemicals, no matter what we're using, whether it's pesticides, insecticides, fungicides, herbicides, and or fertilizers and whatever. These hoses are under pressure and we keep them on with clamps. I would hope that you would notice here that this is a clamp that's rusted out. And you say, well, it's still holding on, and it is right now. But if you think of these clamps, radiator clamps, if you think of them, here's one that's we've basically opened up for you so you can see it. It's a screw that just runs on a very thin sheet of metal. And when you turn it to the right and left, it goes back and forth. And so imagine that any of these components that are rusted, what's the chances that it would actually hold on? So when we buy these clamps, we like to buy tanks that are stainless steel because they rust a whole lot less. Now take a look at these particular clamps, and you can see here that what we call double clamping. And because these are weaker clamps, we're going to put 2 of them on there to hold it. Now what I want you to notice is where the screw is at. You see how they're aligned together? Most people who double clamp like to put the screws on, one on the top, one on the bottom, one on one side or one on the other, but they're opposites. And this is the best way to get strength from these particular clamps. Now, if you talk to most farmers, they have moved away from your clamp, radiator clamp on your left, and they're going to the one that's in the center, and those are called Tbolt clamps. This is what a Tbolt clamp looks like, and you ask any farmer, they'll tell you these don't come loose. It's got a real body. When you tighten that up, it tightens up in a complete circle, as you can see, and there's actually a very strong framework to tighten down the clamps. And here is just showing you one in action. And these are about $7, $8, $9 as compared to 50 cents or $1 on the other clamps, radiator clamps. So I need a good clamp, but also need a good hose. Do you have any idea what would have caused this? And so this is an example of a hose that would be rubbing. And I have to tell you, as you look at this picture, you say, well, that's pretty obvious. And the answer is it's not obvious. What happens here is these hoses are rubbing on something and you can't see it unless you actually look. And so what people do as they look, they begin to find these hoses that have rubbed into the, basically into the outside frame that holds the hose together. And you can see here how they're trying to fix it. Here they've got a hose, basically it's a throwaway hose that's actually on the pressure hose, and it's the hose, that's the white hose that is actually doing the rubbing. So we're trying to put the rubbing on, I guess we would call that a sacrificial hose. Again, same thing here. Look at that clamp right there. You can see right underneath that yellow piece of metal, you can see that they've added another type of protection that's going to protect the hose that's carrying the fluid, but they're basically shielding it with another piece. Same idea here. They're just taking another hose, going to put the other one on the inside and letting that one get the rubbing. Lots of different ways to do it. This particular one, I can't reroute the hose, so if you can see between that piece of metal and the hose, you will see another piece of rubber that somebody is used to try to keep it from rubbing.